safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veterans services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who's interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees, our 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners. And they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, November 10, 2015. It's 8:35. Apologize for the delay getting started this morning. This is a meeting of the Legislative and Human Resources Standing Committee of the Kent County Board of Commissioners. First thing on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone from the public this morning who would like to address the committee? Okay, please, come up to the podium, and you have 5 minutes to speak to us, and please state your name and address for the record.
Certainly won't use 5 minutes, so don't worry about that. Well, good morning. I almost said good afternoon. I guess it's been a long day for me already. A few of you I've seen already, and maybe all of you. I guess I can't remember. There were 21 people up there the last time I was here. I'm Catherine Henry, and I'm running for the 86th District House of Representatives seat. That will be an open seat in the November election, 2016, of course. And the reason why I'm coming to these meetings is it's just very important to me to make it to each and every one of these types of meetings at the governmental level. Obviously, they're a little bit more, they're bigger in nature here at the Kent County level versus those that I go to in the Ionia County counterparts. But even the township board meetings, village council meetings, things like that. I just want to get to know all the people in the district, the people that are already serving in elected or appointed office, and to make sure I'm up to date on what issues are important to the people in the county. And I figured of all boards or committees to go to, the legislative committee probably would be a good one to start with. So if you have any issues, thoughts, concerns that you would like to share with me about state level issues, I'm going to have my business cards on a back table, and hopefully you could remember to find me in other ways as well if you needed to. But anyway, good morning, and that's all I'm here for. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment this morning? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of our minutes from the October 13th, 2015 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move it.
Support. Motion and support. Questions, comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Next up on the agenda is a performance measurements 5-minute update from Community Development. Good morning, Linda. Good morning. Linda Likely from Community Development this week.
I'm pleased to present this update to you all on our performance measurements for the Community Development and Housing Commission. We're right on target with meeting the goals that we've set for this current year. And so what I'd like to do is highlight some of the accomplishments that we've had in both program areas. Under the Housing Commission side of our department, we have been awarded an additional 24 FASH vouchers this past year, and that brings our total to 153 vouchers that are used to house homeless veterans. The other award that we were invited to apply for and received an additional $85,000 to assist in those efforts from home for our homeless veterans, so I'm pleased to announce that. And in our family unification program, which are vouchers that are used to house individuals that are in the court systems, and housing is the last barrier to the family remaining intact or being reunified. We were awarded 25 additional vouchers there, and that brings our total vouchers to 175. For the regular vouchers, we have 80. So we've gone from 135 vouchers that are for this community to 508 vouchers. So I'm pleased to present that, and that's been over the course of some years. On the Housing Commission side, we were awarded ESG funds this past year in the amount of $135,000. Those are funds that are used as well to house individuals that are at risk of homelessness or to prevent people from going to homelessness. Now, if you'd like for me to go through some parts of the report, I can, or ask their questions pertaining to our performance measures.
Okay. Any questions for Linda at this point? Yes, Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Schro. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you.
I recently read an article, wasn't a very kind one, to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, where they not only haven't addressed the backlog of veterans, but one of their missions was to cut the homeless veteran population, and they haven't even got a third of the way there. Now, I see that you just mentioned that you got another grant to combat that. Is what we're doing working, or is there something else and a better way and better use of the money to really solve this problem? I mean, when 2/3 of our veterans are still homeless, I mean, that's...
You know, I think the problem is in our community a little broader than that, and it deals with our rental market. They're renting, and sometimes the issues in our community are that the veterans have credit history, they have convictions and that sort of thing. So, and then the rent reasonableness. We also have our rental market is really at the top of the market. The market bears a lot more than our veterans are able to pay. So we're working with HUD now so that we can increase the amount of what HUD calls rent reasonableness, so that we have additional dollars for rental units. But nationwide, I can't address that, but I can kind of give you a sense of what's going on in our community. And what staff is doing, we work really closely with Veterans Affairs. We work closely with the homeless veteran, the VA hospital. So in our community, we are making changes in getting our vets housed. Daryl, how many do we have that are not housed at this point out of that 153? Okay, so all of our veterans are housed. in Kent County.
So if I go to one of the, and this is no attack on you, but if I go to a underpass and there's homeless vets living out on the streets, I mean, are those not in the numbers that you track, or are they just forgotten by the federal government?
No, they're tracked in another system. They're tracked in the coalition system in HMIS. And when I say that our veterans are housed, the 150, with the resources that have been provided to Kent County are all utilized. That's what I'm saying, that we've been provided enough resources and funding to house 153 veterans, and those that we have been provided have been housed. Now, I'm not saying that it may not be a larger number out there, but we've utilized everything that Kent County has been awarded.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Thank you, Chair. Just a refresher, back when I was in the township, we would apply for grants or whatever for funds, and some areas would qualify and some would not, which I understand, but what's the trigger that determines which areas are and which aren't and so forth?
It's a real complex formula that HUD uses, and they take housing stock, they take poverty rates and all of those, and then HUD determines the target areas. That's imposed upon us. They give us the target areas, and it's based a lot on folks that are the area, 80% area median income. So when they're looking at a specific area, HUD gives a formula where they're looking at it and they say, these are your target areas. So those are the areas that we can work in, and then the other level of that are the projects, that the projects have to meet what they call a national objective. And HUD determines that for us.
Are those predetermined each year? Are they different or vary a little bit from year to year?
They're predetermined each year by HUD, and over the course of the years, I haven't seen it change much.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Just refresh your course. Thank you.
Okay.
Additional questions? Commissioner Steck?
Thank you, Chair. How do we coordinate with the City of Grand Rapids? Are our services that we run through the county principally in community areas that are not direct funded by HUD, such as Grand Rapids and other communities?
Yes,
Okay.
and that is a HUD mandate that if you're what they call a participating jurisdiction, which Kent County, Grand Rapids, and Wyoming are, then your funds they're restricted to those specific areas that HUD tells you may work in. The difference to that is that our home program, we manage Wyoming's home funds.
So how do we coordinate with those, for example, Grand Rapids? They get their direct funding. They also have housing commissions. They have all of the same types of services?
They do, and with the housing, I'll go to the Housing Commission first. With the Housing Commission, they have what's a coordinated committee that we all serve on, Kent County, Wyoming, and Grand Rapids. And that committee meets quarterly, and that's how we're coordinating services there. With the City of Grand Rapids, we just recently, well, right now, working on a consolidated plan that looks at the needs of our community regionally. They look at our entire community.
Okay, as a coordination of these various organizations that from Grand Rapids, that strikes me as being a real valuable practice to engage in to find how you can do this as a cohesive, singular approach.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, we're the first in the nation to have that approach, so it's not been without a few challenges. I think we're ahead of HUD on this.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning.
I'm trying to make sense on the Housing Commission page in the report, the performance measures. You know, you talked about the VASH vouchers and that all of them are being used, but the numbers there say 65 and 30% for chronically homeless and transitionally homeless. I'm not sure what those mean, and I was looking for a little more. It's on the second page of what we have. The Housing Commission, where it talks about the mission, the strategic goals, and then at the bottom are the selected key performance measures. And the percent of VASH rental vouchers provided to chronically homeless veterans, it says 65%. And I don't know what that means as compared to, thanks.
Here's our VASH expert.
What that means is 65% a total population of our current 153, 65% of those vouchers have to be, a minimum of 65% have to be chronically homeless, and 35% are transitional homeless.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Linda this morning? Linda, I had a question for you under the Housing Commission. I understand that there's the requirement to move the families from welfare to work. And then under your measurements, your percentage of participants employed at the end of the fiscal year, in 2013, you were expecting to have 10%, which you did get, and in 2014, 10% to 100%. So just wondering, can you explain that a little bit? That seems like a big success, and then expecting in 2015, expected 100% as well.
Ambitious goal.
Ambitious, well, but she achieved it in 2014.
Right.
We're looking at,
On page 7,
so the performance measures, percentage of families, I'm not saying. Would you read that performance
sure, percent of
indicator?
participants employed at the end of the fiscal year in 2013 was 10%, and 2014 expected was 10%, but then you actually had 100%.
That is an error. It is the 10%.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I was so hopeful there. I thought we were getting everybody a job. Okay.
Yeah, and we really work hard towards that. Staff meet with people on a bi-monthly basis, so we really work towards that. But folks have a lot of issues that they need, like education and those kind of things to overcome. So 10% is really a good number.
Okay. Yeah, you might want to update that because it's expected for 2015 to be 100% as well.
I will do that immediately.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Any other questions this morning for Linda or for Daryl? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much. Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda is performance measurements review from Information Technology. And of course, we have with us this morning Craig Paul, the Director of Information Technology. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good. Okay, so I'm going to run you through a performance measurement review for IT for the past year. We have a standard agenda that we follow for this. In terms of alignment with board priorities, go through some key performance metrics, talk briefly about some significant budget issues, significant accomplishments, some key collaborations, and then a brief look ahead at what's coming up. So if we look at the priority alignment, there's really 3 of the board priorities that I think that IT supports. And the first is providing services through the most efficient means. I think technology is a real key to that in terms of deploying technology to help improve the productivity of the employees and increase access to services. Provide opportunities for citizens to be aware of and involved in county government. We fulfill that largely through the use of the Access Kent website and the facilities that offers. And then finally, seeking out innovative solutions and addressing issues systematically, which again is really a role that IT performs in conjunction with numerous county departments as well as local agencies. So looking for a moment at some of our key metrics. The first one we'll take a look at actually involves the website, which the goal here is providing an attractive, easy-to-use portal that assists citizens and other interested parties. I'm sure you're all aware of Access Kent and the way we use that. The first thing we look at in terms of, okay, how are we doing with that? We look at traffic. And traffic is measured by page views. So we're looking and also website visitors. The metric we're using here is website visitors. So we try and increase traffic to the website by at least 5% annually. And so far, we did have a dip between 2012 and 2013. We're back up in 2014. We expect 2015 to be, actually, I expect we're going to exceed the 2 million figure at this point. The other thing we do is look at document downloads. We make a number of pieces of information available on the website that you can download, primarily Adobe Acrobat documents. We measure that as well. Again, we had that dip from 2012 to 2013, came back in 2014, and expect, again, a good year in 2015 there. Part of that is driven by actually the volume of documents that are available. That continues to increase. The last metric that we take a look at in this is increasing our operating efficiencies, and by that we offer 24/7 transaction processing. The metric we use here is, and we have for multiple services for this purpose, we've pulled what we call adoption rate for vital records. Adoption rate is basically that percentage of the total vital records transactions that are handled online. And so that's steadily increasing. So we hope this year that break 24%. I expect over time that's going to continue to increase even further. Turning for a minute away from our public face, now we're going to concentrate on more internal measures in terms of services we provide to the organization internally. One of the things we try to do is provide continuous improvement in terms of people who reach out to us and say that they're having difficulties or they need something more. So the first thing, we run an annual IT survey. In fact, that's in process right now. And that forms a large portion of the measurements that we use internally. We send that out to approximately 1,600 or so employees throughout the county. We typically get a response rate that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 22%. Statistically, that's really a good rate of return for a survey, and so we feel some confidence in terms of the information we gather. So here we're looking at improving our rating for responsiveness. So in other words, when somebody calls us, are they getting the help they need when they need it? We've varied a little bit. You notice last year we slipped down to 4.1. Our goal is to get that up to a consistent 4.2. We also have what we call service level agreements, an SLA. Okay, we say here's how long it's going to take us to respond, or actually not necessarily to respond, but to get the problem or issue resolved. What the SLA is that we're going to hit the established standard at 70%, I'm sorry, at 90% of the time. We recognize that while we would love for that to be 100%, the reality is that at any given point in time, we may have too much demand on the services, or perhaps the problem that we're confronted by is a little bit more complex than what we expected. We think 90% is a reasonable measure to try and hit. We were way above it in 2012. Unfortunately, we've been suffering a little bit in the last couple of years. We're still retaining that goal of 90%, and that's something that we pay a great deal of attention to because we want people to be able to rely on us when they call. They know that something's going to happen, and it's going to happen in a timely manner. We also provide application maintenance, integration, and development services. The programming staff, we have a wide variety of applications that support the county. We have some that everyone uses, and then we have a very large number are actually very functionally specific. And so again, we turn to our IT survey to say how are we doing. Our goal is 4.2. We've had some variability in that, depending on the year, depending on the kinds of challenges that we confront, but we still retain that goal and continue to push for it. The other thing we look at is not just are we responsive, how good a job are we doing? So we've got the do we get back to you, and then we get what's the quality of the service that we provide. Again, our goal is 4.2. We've had some variability. We were above it in 2013. We're down a little bit last year. We are hoping this year when we tally the survey results, we're back up. I will say one of the things that I should mention, one of the things that caused perhaps a little blip in the 2014 numbers, we added the airport to the survey in 14. That was the first year that we had full year we provided services to the airport. And I expect that caused a little bit of the variability. Last thing we want to look at in terms of goals and metrics, providing a stable, reliable, secure, and cost-effective computing infrastructure. That's really a key component. We have to have something that people can rely on. So one of the things we look at is server availability. At or above 99.9%. Last year we were a bit above that. Remains our goal at 99.9%. That does exclude, we do have scheduled outages, and that number excludes the scheduled outages. And we are, in addition, unfortunately, as much as I hate to admit it, there's those unplanned service outages, which means it's not 100%. Our goal is to continue to decrease that. We've invested in technology that helps us manage those better, and we have some redundancy built in, and we continue to add redundancy where we believe it's necessary, conscious of the trade-off between providing 100% service and how much it costs. That as you get closer and closer to 100%, the price tag to get there mounts really fast. So we try and manage that to a reasonable level. Turning for a moment then to significant budget issues for IT. At this point, IT's got and I think it's true of the county as a whole, and that filters down to IT, what I call a higher than normal workload. The CGI, the financial management system implementation, the CGI project, is impacting numerous departments, IT among them. We also have the airport transition. There's some work that's coming out of that. We're getting ready to replace the jail management system, and what that has done is actually driven our workload higher than normal. We have a philosophy within IT of find a way to say yes. We're at a point right now where we're saying not now. It's not that we don't want to do the work, it's not that we won't help you, but we've got so much on our plates right now, we have a little less flexibility to fill in, whereas before we might have been able to do that. We are having some difficulty in filling open positions. I think that's IT skills are, if you will, fungible. That is that the same IT skills that we deploy, that we use in government, work equally well in every other sector. So as the economy is starting to rebound, we're starting to, I think, have a little pressure on IT hiring because there's less people available. The unemployment rate for IT people is quite low in the West Michigan area. The other thing that's causing us some degree of budget distress is the fact that demand for storage is going up extremely rapidly. In one sense, you can say that that's a good thing because as you're storing information, that information is being used and again helps increase productivity of staff. But what's going on is that increasingly it's not just text-based, it's image-based, it's audio-based, it's video-based. That has a far higher storage demand in terms of the amount of space it consumes, and that's driving our storage utilization up rapidly. The other thing, and I don't think it's any surprise, this has become an increasingly mobile society. We feel the same pressures, and so there's a lot of requests to, gee, can I make this application mobile? Can I do this when I'm out in the field? And so we have to try and meet that demand as well. So that's something else that's putting a little pressure on our budget. Turning to significant accomplishments, which is the fun part. We have now gone and introduced wireless infrastructure through all the core, what I'll call the core buildings. So we have it here in administration, we have it in the courthouse, we have it out at the Sheriff's Department, we have it at the Health Department. So the only building that we have not deployed wireless in is 82 Ionia. Obviously, we're a little reluctant to put any money into that facility until its fate is determined. And that does, the wireless, by the way, serves two audiences. There's the public wireless, so anybody can come in. You see an access point called KC Guest. You attach to that, up comes some terms and conditions, you hit accept, and then you can go out and use free Wi-Fi access to the internet in a county building. The other side of that is a direct attachment to our core county network. So I know Steve has his laptop here. Steve Duarte is able to actually connect directly with that device to our core network and act just as if he was at his desk. And so we've enabled mobility within county facilities to county staff. We were awarded a Special Achievement Award this year. That's for application in our GIS area, geospatial technology. The picture is Jack Adjournment, who's the president of VSRI, who's our GIS technology vendor. The person receiving the award is Elliot Lowe, who's on my staff, one of our GIS analysts. This is a highly sought after award, a huge amount of competition for this. We were recognized for the deployment of applications. We've got our public parcel finder application that's out there. We've got a sales finder, and we've also made that information available on iOS and Android devices, as well as the fact that we've actually made big chunks of our GIS data sets freely available to the public for download and their use. And that award was in recognition of that activity. And we're quite proud of that. Finally, I'll mention the airport support. We're wrapping up our second full year of providing support to the airport. I will say that was a huge learning experience for us. The airport is akin to a small city. It has tenants. It has its own police department. It has its own fire department. It has the fueling operations. So it's been really, I think, it's a challenge for us. But over time, what we've done is we've improved the level of infrastructure that supports the airport, and we've lowered the expense to the airport for providing that service. Turn for a moment to collaborations. I don't think it's a stretch at all to say that clearly the biggest collaboration that we currently are engaged in is this FMS project. As you'll recall, when we brought this forward to the board for approval, the project itself is under the auspices of the Michigan Municipal Services Authority. The current participants in this are Kent County, Genesee County, and the city of Grand Rapids. Collectively, we were able to achieve a significant discount on obtaining the software. And in addition to the discount we were able to obtain, we're also sharing information as we continue to work on deployment. The lessons that we learn are used by Grand Rapids. What Grand Rapids is learned helps us, and we in turn are providing those same lessons to Genesee. We actually hope at some point that the slide will get a couple of more players on it. The MMSA is out and is attempting to see if there are other communities interested in implementing the same solution. We actually are quite hopeful that happens, because if it does, our cost goes down. We also act as a hub for numerous communities, so the diagram you see kind of has us in the middle, and then we've got connections all over the place. We have a connection direct to the state and are able to leverage that. And primarily what goes over that is lean traffic, law enforcement information network traffic, as well as then we have direct connections that we support to communities that bring information into our sheriff's department. there are multiple communities that use the sheriff's records system, for instance, as their records management system. We support that all through a series of networks. We have quite a bit of fiber that goes direct to communities, and we have a huge, actually collaborative fiber structure where we share fiber with other communities and agencies around the area. I think I'd also be remiss in not mentioning the fact that we're very active in the realm of cybersecurity in terms of collaborations. Barb Heemstra, my staff, who's our head of information security, helped create the West Michigan Cybersecurity Consortium. We're members of a number of groups that are involved in that. In addition, we participate in activities with the state of Michigan. You may have seen some, over the last couple of years, we've been conducting what we call blue team, red team exercises. They create a virtual city, and you have people who attack the virtual city's cyber infrastructure and people who defend that virtual city's cyber infrastructure. And what that does then is give the teams that participate kind of hands-on experience in some of the vulnerabilities and how you respond to those. And those have been very well received. We've gotten some publicity off those, and we anticipate continuing to do those in the future. And I think that's a real benefit. This is truly a thing where everybody's interests are collected. We're all connected to the internet. Cybersecurity issues in any given place certainly have the potential to multiply and cause problems for others. So this is not just a public sector only. This is public sector, private sector. Everyone's involved in this. The last thing I'll talk about briefly is our look ahead. I mentioned a couple of these. With the FMS project, our financial system implementation is set to go live on January 1st of 2016. HR payroll budgeting, April 1st of 2016. And then we have any effort of this magnitude is never done just because you went live. There's going to be a period of sorting out. We have to tweak this. We have to make that adjustment. We anticipate that's going to take us through the end of 2016. As part of the airport transition, the airport will be unable to use our financial system after July 1st when we complete the transition. So we have a new financial management system to implement for them. That's due to go up July 1st of 16. Geo management system replacement, target implementation for that is April 1st of 2017. Geo management is by far the most technically complex thing that we run here. It has a number of real-time interfaces and ends up being a fair amount of effort to make sure all those things work reliably. Finally, the other thing we have what I'll call a placeholder for is the space needs study. Again, we don't really know what's going to come out of that yet. That's unfolding, but depending on how those dominoes fall, IT will have work to do in terms of potential relocation, and if there's a new building that ends up being built, we'll have to be involved in that, and the design work and other things. So, as well as just the regular day-to-day work and any number of other projects going on, IT's plate is fairly full. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for your update, Craig. Do we have any questions for Craig this morning? Commissioner Bolter.
I have one question, sorry. I know we've probably answered this before, but with the airport transition, are we going to continue to support them in perpetuity, or do they transition into their own IT staff? I can't remember what we did there.
I'm sorry. At this point, there's a provision in the agreement that's going to call for us to provide support post-transition, otherwise after July 1st, for a period of 12 to 18 months. And at the end of that period, it's envisioned that then the airport will take on its own IT support.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for Craig? Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the update. I stayed awake.
Thank you.
You challenged me on that. A couple of comments. One, I want to express appreciation for the wireless infrastructure. I've kind of talked about that in years past, and noted as I came in and got out of my car this morning in the parking structure below that it came up on my phone that I want to connect, and I have that at a number of buildings, and that's something that I longed for many years, and I think we've done that well, and appreciate how that's happened, and I think that's great for everybody that the county serves to be able to have access to that. Also wanted to comment on the key performance measures in the document here, just to say that I really appreciate the outcome indicators that are focused on who I consider to be the primary customers, the people that are using the technology in our organization, and really want to encourage continuing to keep that focus on those customers. I think those surveys are a critical measure, and I really appreciate the way the department uses those, and I assume keeps those in front of the staff all the time, because that's what we need to be about.
In fact, selected portions of the IT survey actually are part of the individual performance assessments. So yeah, so there's a direct tie there, and IT is a customer service department. We wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the fact that people need the services. So for us, focusing on what it is that people need, I mean, that's really our whole reason for existence. So so we try and pay a great deal of attention to that.
Yeah, great. I really appreciate that. And the third thing I want to comment on is the county's website, which I tend to use a lot. I refer people to it a lot. And I found that there's just a tremendous amount of information there. And I know the struggles and the challenges of making that much information easy for the general public to find. I think we do a good job of that. The one area that I continue to have concerns about is kind of the real-time stuff, the news releases that come out are difficult to find. And I have had that numerous times where I wanted to link to something to let folks know that I'm connected with on Facebook or whatever, and I have difficulty finding a release that I've gotten by email, but I'd like to link to. So I think putting that somewhere near the front in some way, because that's kind of important real-time stuff that I think it's helpful for citizens to have access to really quickly and easily. So, but appreciate the report and lots of good stuff. Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bonk?
Thank you, Chair. Great presentation. A lot of good information. We can't ask questions when you cover it so well, but thoroughly. But back to the airport, is the finance piece the biggest piece of the technology with the airport, or there's other things that need to be looked at and watched as well as we go through this transition?
That's really the single biggest piece. It would be a little bit different if we were cutting our service effective July 1st, since we're continuing the support after July 1st. That's probably not quite as much of an issue.
Okay. I just wondered how that all goes.
But it's really I'm sorry, that's the big one. I mean, and then of course there are the big projects that are going on at the airport that really don't revolve around the transition. For instance, that checkpoint consolidation project is going to have some interesting implications for IT.
As in what?
Well, there's going to be some support we're going to need to install. You know, they've had pictures of that video wall as part of that, and so we expect that there's going to be work that's involved. There's going to be new wiring that's going to be required. There's new infrastructure that will come out of that. Okay. Now that'll be part of the project itself. I mean, it'll be funded, but there's going to be implications for us to have to be involved and watch to make sure everything's done the way it needs to be done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the heads up.
Commissioner Steck?
Thank you, Chair. I also have an opportunity to use the web pages of a lot of counties through my other job, and certainly acknowledge you for having a state-of-the-art system. So it's very well done and very informative. One of the things that I do note as I look at others around the state is where I have opportunities to access the GIS information, that the quality of the imaging that's available from county to county really varies. And we have pretty good quality available to us. Is it as good a quality as you can get through the GIS system, or is there scheduled improvements on that? We're always looking for the ability to eventually, count the pebbles in the driveway.
It's not as good as it. I mean, there are higher levels of resolution that are available, but at that point, what you do is again, we strive to produce a product that's good and actually better than good, but the cost increment to get the higher resolution starts coming at a much higher price tag. So we're at a point that's considered to be the most, I'd say probably the most commonly deployed. And in addition, we not only have the top-down, the so-called orthophotography, we also have the oblique photography that we've started incorporating in the flights we do every 5 years. And we have two different resolutions on that. There's one that's further out and one that's closer in. Again, you could get better resolution, but at a far higher price tag.
Yeah, I know that there are some counties that do have a better resolution in some of their aerial photography that's available than what we have. And I'm not suggesting we need to go to a higher resolution, but I'm just wondering, what are the factors that would make the cost worthwhile for us to consider that?
Well, I think we take a look at that every time, because again, we do a flyover every 5 years. That's our schedule. The good news is, like everything else, technology is improving, so we hope we get potentially some better resolution at somewhat lower cost, but at some point it becomes, at what altitude do you fly the airplane? And then in order to get that higher resolution, sometimes you have to fly the plane lower. That means more passes in order to cover the same territory. And so now what drives it up is the cost for the airplane and the fuel and the time required.
And then my last question is the GIS imagery available internally the same resolution that's available externally?
Yes. Yeah, there's no difference.
Thank you.
Commissioner Constein.
Thank you, Shane. There's a lot of talk about, we protect our infrastructure from cyber attack, hacking, viruses, you name it. I recently read where a lot of people are finding to disrupt a system, it's just as easy to go after the physical features, cut the wires, do damage to the physical infrastructure. What do we do to protect our physical structures? You go in buildings now, there's computer cables in these little cages that are easily accessed and easily purposely damaged. Is that something we're worried about, or is that something that?
Well, we worry about it to, I guess, a reasonable extent. And by that I mean our primary equipment, the servers are in secured buildings that only a set number of people have access to. The bad news is you can damage a cable fairly easily because you can reach over and grab it, pull it, break it. The good news is that replacing a cable really doesn't, that's a fairly straightforward proposition. You haven't really, you haven't stolen it unless you take that cable and try and plug it into something else, which we would figure out. You haven't really stolen any data, you haven't corrupted any data necessarily because you were able to do that. So we think we strike a reasonable balance, pretty consistent with other organizations in terms of protecting our physical plant.
Okay, other questions for Craig this morning? Appreciate all your hard work. I know you have a very full plate, just seeing your update here this morning. I had one question for you. Under significant budget issues, you said you have a difficulty filling open positions. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit? I mean, how many open positions are we talking about, and is that going to interact or interfere with your ability to accomplish some of these goals?
Well, currently we have 2 positions open. We've had historically, we've had some difficulty in 2 areas recently, I'd say within roughly the past year and a half, when we were trying to find a security administrator. Security administrators are difficult to find, and they're fairly expensive. So we struggled. We spent a long time. We had multiple rounds of interview. We would go through a set of candidates. We'd figure out that the candidates weren't qualified. We'd open the position again. We'd go through another round. I think we did that 3 times, if I recall, at least twice. I think it's 3 before we found a candidate. We've had similar experience with our systems administrators, the people that care for the servers. And that's one of the positions that's open currently.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that report. Any other questions this morning? All right. Seeing none, thank you so much, Craig. Appreciate all your work. Okay. Next up on the agenda, item number 5 is an action request from Human Resources regarding labor agreement with the Kent County Assistant Prosecuting Attorneys Association.
This is a request to recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve a 2-year agreement for the period January 1, 2016 through December 31st, 2017 between the county and the Kent County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Association. The negotiating committee recommends approval of a 2-year labor contract. Wages will increase 2% annually in 2016 and 2017. In 2016, the employee's share of health care premiums will increase from 17.5% to 20%, and $250 single, $500 family deductibles will be added to the HMO plan. The additional $25 per pay period health care contribution for employees whose spouses decline available health care coverage by their employers will be deleted. The new insured long-term disability program will replace the pension plan non-duty disability program in 2016. The employee pension plan contribution cap will increase from 18.5% to 19.5% in 2017. A second tier of paid time off and vacation accrual will be implemented for employees hired on or after July 1, 2016. The 2-year increase in salary and benefit costs is $176,750. The requirement for employees to pay union dues will be deleted as required by the Michigan Freedom to Work statute.
Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Commissioner Bonk. Support. Support by Commissioner Breebe. Questions or comments?
I'm sorry. I said 18.5 and 19.5. That it's 8.5 and 9.5 on the pension contribution.
To make that clarification, what you have in front of you is correct, not what our administrators have.
Yes.
So, any questions or comments on the motion? Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. I'm finding that as I get older, the memory gets weaker and weaker, and I think I've asked this question before, but I don't remember the answer. The $25 per pay period contribution for employees whose spouses decline. Mm-hmm. Why are we going that direction? That seems like something that would be a benefit to the county potentially, but is it because of law changes or something like that?
No, the law didn't change. I will defer to Amy on the question.
Good morning.
Last year, the county began what is a 3-year cycle of bargaining with several different unions. And we agreed as a quid pro quo with our road patrol union last year that in exchange for other benefits to the county in terms of the health care plan that we would give a concession in that area. So that concession is carrying through to the other units as well. The county, to the extent that it's possible, we attempt to achieve consistency in the terms and conditions of benefit plans across units, so we're not administering 13 different health care plans and that type of thing. So we believe that what we were able to achieve in terms of concessions is a greater benefit to the county than the $25 that we're giving up.
I'm sorry that I'm not quite understanding. It seems like the $25, maybe I'm misunderstanding this, the $25 that we would give to an employee saves us additional dollars.
No. That's not in lieu of. We have a $35 per pay period contribution to employees who do not take our health care coverage.
For a spouse. For themselves.
For for anyone, themselves, or, well, they can't do it for their spouses without doing it for themselves. So this is related to a provision that was added in the last round of bargaining. If I'm a spouse that works somewhere else and I decline that insurance from the employer, then the employee would have to pay $25 to the county for a spouse that was eligible for insurance but didn't accept it. So this isn't related to...
This isn't from us to the employee, this is the employee to us.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, I understood it backwards.
Did you have a follow-up?
Oh, I'll wait for the stand.
Commissioner Steck?
Am I correct that the only tiering in service or in benefits here is on the time off, vacation time?
Yes. There isn't a proposal with this unit to implement a dual-tier pay structure. There are for some other bargaining units. We looked at the relative pay of folks in every bargaining unit versus those entities that would be our competitors for talent for those employees. And in this bargaining unit, it was determined that the pay was pretty close to market, so it wasn't necessary to implement a dual-tier wage structure. There are two bargaining units this year where we're requesting a dual-tier wage structure. One is the UAW General Unit, which is in front of you today. The UAW Courts Units has traditionally been seen as part of that same larger group, and then the corrections officers, which we're still negotiating with.
So again, the tiering here is in the vacation time, and that's the only area where we thought that we had a market implication that required or suggested to support with tiering. And just says for a lower rate. Can you give us some idea what are the tiers? You're talking about a lower rate?
The time off programs are going to experience two changes. The first is today existing employees in that prosecutor's unit start out with, I believe it is 3 weeks of vacation, and they top out at 7. I'd have to double check it, but basically they're going to start off with 1 less week of vacation per year, and they'll top out at the top of their careers with 2 less weeks of vacation per year for new hires. And existing employees, in addition to the vacation, are eligible for 10 personal days annually or 80 hours of personal time. New hires instead will be eligible for 40 hours of personal time every year. Those are the two changes that are being made to the... Yeah, 40, yeah. Yeah, so that would apply only to new hires who are hired on or after July 1. And you'll see that same trend throughout the other agreements that are being negotiated this year.
Okay, additional questions? Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. Not sure who to go to with this, but do we have any sense of if you take the 2% wage increase and counter that with the additional pension contribution and the additional health care contribution, where does that leave employees in terms of kind of total compensation? Are they still moving ahead generally, or are they maybe falling behind a little bit compared to previous contract?
I can't tell you what the employee's state might be compared to previous contract, but the employee is not going to fall behind with this contract if you take the net between the 2% pay increase and the benefit concessions. But because the 2% pay increase is cumulative, it compounds year over year. That is by far the most costly thing that the county offers to employees, and it vastly surpasses any benefit implications.
Over the period of the contract? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Amy, I had just one. I noticed on this one we have 2 others we'll be reviewing this morning, but this is a 2-year agreement and the other 2 are 3 years. Can you speak to that a little bit? Do we always have this as only 2 years, or what's the reason?
No, the county has historically had varying durations of agreements. We actually went into this negotiation anticipating a 3-year, and the unit asked for a 2-year. We looked at it and we agreed that the pros actually outweighed the cons for the county too. That allows us to align the prosecutors with another unit of attorneys that would have common bargaining interests, and also to offload one contract in a very busy time and better spread out the work for the HR team.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Steck.
Thank you. Just one more question. How many employees are covered by this contract?
But with the APAs, maybe 30, low 30s.
Okay, any other questions this morning? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Amy, don't go anywhere because the next item on the agenda is for you too. Another action request from Human Resources Labor Agreement for Teamsters, state, county, municipal workers for the public health nurses.
This is a request to recommend to the board to approve a 3-year labor agreement for the period of January 1, 2016 through December 31st, 2018 between the county and the Teamsters, which covers the public health nurses. Excuse me. The negotiating committee recommends approval of a 3-year labor contract. Wages will increase 2% annually in 2016, 17, and 18. In 2016, the employee's share of the health care premiums will increase from 17.5% to 20%, and 250 single $500 family deductibles will be added to the HMO plan. The additional $25 per pay period health care contribution for employees whose spouses decline available health care coverage by their employers will also be deleted. In 2018, the out-of-pocket maximum under the county's health care plans will increase by $1,000 with corresponding reduction of $1,000 in the prescription opt-out of pocket maximum to maintain compliance with limits set forth under the Patient Protection Affordability Care Act. A new long-term disability program will replace the pension plan non-disability program in 2016. The employee pension plan contribution cap will increase from 8.5% to 9.5% of pay in 2017. A second tier of vacation and paid personal leave time will be implemented for employees hired on or after July 1, 2016. The total 3-year increase to salary and benefit costs is $329,893, and the requirement for employees to pay union dues will be deleted as required by the Michigan Freedom to Work statute.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Commissioner Vonk.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Brady. Questions or comments on the motion? Commissioner Vonk.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up to Commissioner Steck's question, how many people are covered with this contract?
About 55.
55? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bolter.
Amy, can you explain kind of what we're looking at? It's bullet 4. A new insured long-term disability program will replace the pension plan non-duty disability program. What is that?
Sure. Yeah, the county's defined benefit pension plan currently includes what's called a non-duty disability provision. It's funded under the pension. And under that provision, employees with 10 or more years of service are eligible to apply to the county's pension board, which includes commissioners, citizens, and employees, to seek income continuation benefits if they become permanently disabled.
Okay.
What I've experienced is that group is not necessarily the best group. They're not medical professionals, and the intent of this is to move that benefit to an insurance company that makes these kind of decisions for a living.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, item 7, Human Resources Action Request, Labor Agreement, United Auto Workers, Local 2600 General Unit.
This is a request to recommend to the board to approve a 3-year labor agreement for the period January 1, 2016 through December 31st, 2018 between the county and the UAW General Unit. The negotiating committee recommends approval of a 3-year contract. Wages will increase annually in 2% in 2016, 17, and 18. In 2016, the employees' share of the health care premiums will increase from 17.5% to 20%, and $250 single, $500 family deductibles will be added to the HMO plan. Again, the $25 per day period health care contribution for employees whose spouses decline available health coverage by their employees will be deleted. In 2018, the out-of-pocket maximum under the county health care plans will increase by $1,000 with a corresponding reduction of $1,000 in the prescription out-of-pocket maximum. A new long-term disability program will replace the pension plan non-duty disability program in 2016, and the employee's pension plan contribution cap will increase from 8.5% of pay to 9.5% of pay in 2017. A second wage tier will be created for employees hired on or after July 1, 2016. A second tier of vacation and paid personal leave time will be implemented for employees hired on or after July 1, 2016. The total 3-year increase of salary and benefit costs is $2.1 million, and the requirement for employees to pay union dues will be deleted as required by the Mission Freedom to Work statute.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
The motion by Commissioner Vaughn and a support by Commissioner Breve. Any questions or comments on the motion? Commissioner Bolter?
I have one last question, and it relates to all three. It's just quite interesting to see this because I was working in the legislature when we passed right to work. So how does this, so now that we're implementing it into practice, if an employee decides to opt out of the union, are they still under this contract? Do we have to pay them separate in a different type of situation? How does that work in practice?
Good question. If the employee opts out of the union under right to work, then they don't have to pay dues, and they don't have the capability to vote, to ratify contracts, or to elect union officials, but they are still covered in every other regard under the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vaughn?
And again, how many people are covered under this contract?
About 435.
Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Constantine?
Thank you, Chair Sherrill. Part of all three of these had pension issues that were on it. Another one that we face is when someone becomes disabled from work, that the pension is only to a specific job. Have we worked on anything that if another job similar but not the specific one that they held, that they then have that option to move to that instead of granting the early pension?
No, we haven't looked at that, but we certainly could.
Okay.
Commissioner Chandler?
Thank you, Chair. Just clarifying the, this, I think this is the only one that had the second wage tier. And it looks like that second tier means that they'll start up, the new folks coming in will start a step higher than the old folks did, but they'll end up the same place. Is that right? Is that the basic difference?
Yeah, the pay grades each have a progression where you start right today at what we call the A step, which is the bottom of the pay grade, and over a period of 5.5 years, you work your way up to the G step, which is the top of the pay grade. New hires will be coming in if they are slated for a dual tier wage schedule. Not every job is, only some. But those jobs that are will come in instead of the A step at the B step of the new pay grade. So one step higher, and they'll top out at the G step of the new pay grade.
Just clarification on the new pay grade, it's lower than the current.
In most cases. There were a couple of cases where employees will go into a higher pay grade. Yeah, it doesn't always go down. It can go up too, just depending on how our competitors for labor are paying for those jobs.
Any other questions for Amy this morning? Amy, I just had one question. Obviously, we're going to be approving 3 contracts this morning, but I understand we have 4 more that are expiring at the end of the year. Can you just give us a real quick rundown on what those are and what we can expect?
Sure. There's a small group of court reporters, just 4 people, and they ratified their contract late last week. So that contract will go through the approval process, culminating in the December 17 board meeting. So one step behind this. The UAW courts units have kind of an interesting situation. There is a rival union that is called TPOAM, and they have that they are looking to ask the employees who are currently represented by the UAW to instead elect them as their representatives. So the UAW and this other union are kind of vying for who will represent those employees. And the county is, unfortunately, it's disrupted bargaining, which was in place, and we have to wait to see what the outcome is of that election. We should know by December is my best guess, and then whoever the formal representative is of those employees will resume bargaining at that time. Another union that may or may not ratify their contract this year is the Cabins Lieutenants at the Sheriff Department. That's about 21 people. That unit is unique in that they're the only unit that we're bargaining with this year that is eligible for mandatory binding arbitration under Public Act 312. So the process is a little bit different if they choose not to ratify the agreement, but we're still hopeful that we can reach agreement with those folks. The last unit is corrections officers at the Sheriff Department. That's about 220 people, and we had our last bargaining meeting with that unit yesterday. It looks like we're headed into a process that's called fact-finding, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about how that works offline, but that process does consume some time, and I don't anticipate that we'll reach agreement with that unit this year.
Thank you for that update. Any other questions for Amy this morning? Okay, seeing none, we'll call this to question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up on the agenda is miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner miscellaneous this morning? Commissioner Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair. The committee I chair will meet in 3A or 3 immediately following this meeting, so
Great.
thank you.
Commissioner Breedy.
Yeah, I just wanted to share, I received a great email from one of my constituents yesterday in regard to veteran services. And he had been, he's a Vietnam vet and had been dealing with some health concerns related to his time in Vietnam and Agent Orange. And he was just really impressed with the staff at Kent County Veteran Services and how professional they were, how respectful and responsive they were in communicating with him, and also how quick he was able to receive his benefits. And he said that he had voted for the Veterans Millage, and he was really happy, and he thought his tax dollars were being well spent.
Thank you for that update, especially with Veterans Day coming up tomorrow. That's wonderful to hear that we're able to meet those needs. Any other comments? Commissioner Talon.
Well, perhaps just to follow up, might be helpful for everyone to know some of the other efforts that are going on regarding housing veterans. The Coalition and Homelessness that I work with in my day job, one of the collaborators in that organization, Community Builders, is convening a group that is attempting to end veteran homelessness in our community. There are, and basically means coming up with a list of people that have been identified, and the list is over 200 at this point that we need to get housed. And a lot of organizations, including the VA and various veterans organizations, are collaborating on that, and that effort began a couple months ago and continues in an effort to get those folks housed as quickly as possible. And there are a lot of resources to address that, but as we learned earlier, it can be a very difficult process. There are a number of veterans that are chronically homeless. They've been homeless for a long time, so good stuff going on.
Thank you for that. Any other Commissioner miscellaneous this morning? I have a couple things. First of all, you should have received an evaluation for our county administrator. If you could take some time to fill that out and submit it to Pam, I think you want it by November 20th so that we can get those processed in a timely fashion. Also want to thank all of you. Commissioner Vonk mentioned there's his meeting is he's meeting with his subcommittee immediately following this to go over all of the board appointments that we do, which of course is one of the most important things we do as a committee. So thank you for all your hard work on that. We're hoping to have all those finalized by next week is kind of our internal goal so that we can have those processed before the holidays. And finally, on a sad note, I wanted to mention, if you hadn't seen the email, our colleague Matt Coleman lost his mother unexpectedly last night. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Commissioner Coleman and his family. So with that, no other additional miscellaneous, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I am Kent County
am Kent County.
I am Kent County.
We are 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 Kent County.
Beya, Kent County. Ami, Kent County.
Somos Kent County.
Mas Ira, Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County. We are Kent County. Oh yeah.